Okay. I can't wait for this. It's gonna look so fucking good. I'm gonna be so hungry. Like I'm gonna want to make some shit after this.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week, as you may have just seen, my cookware line is available now. Among the items available are these knives, which are super duper sharp, which I was reminded
Bro, I've always
as I was
needed
cleaning
some
them
like
for
really
this
sharp
very
knives.
shot. And since today we're recreating the chef's platter from
Because every time I go to cut shit,
appropriate to
like onions, the way you're supposed to, I always have dull knives, and it's hard as fuck to cut onions without a sharp
I can
knife.
tell that I've definitely gotten a lot older since that video.
Like I don't think I've ever had a knife that could do that. Never tried, but convinced, probably not.
Yep, that's right. I had hair. Anyway, the Babish knives are available now. Let's get back to cooking.
I'm holding on to as much hair as I can.
Out of the flagon, I'm going to make some tepache. We're going to start by
Once it's
roughly
gone,
cubing a whole
is what it
pineapple.
is.
Try to add 6 ounces of brown sugar. Promptly drop it. Take a moment for contemplation and self-reflection.
Just keep the bowl in there.
Dust
Fuck
yourself
it.
off. Add the sugar plus 3 or 4 cinnamon sticks, a whole dried ancho chili if you want a little heat, 1 whole star anise, and 2 whole cloves. We're doing this in a thoroughly sanitized food-grade bucket because
that bitch
we
in
are
a whole-
fermenting this mixture. Just cover it up and let it sit out at room temperature
How
for
big do you think it
48
is?
hours. The resultant mixture
more than a
will be
gallon,
slightly
right? It's
darker
like 2
brown.
gallons,
We're gonna
maybe?
strain out all the solids and transfer, albeit
it's a
unsuccessfully,
drink.
to a pitcher for easy pouring. Go ahead and wipe yourself off.
I bet that
Stack
tastes
your
fucking
favorite ladle
great.
and ladle into the pitcher.
pineapple
What
juice
results
alone
an
is good.
absolutely delicious, barely carbonated, barely alcoholic, refreshing warm weather beverage. Now that that's made, we got to talk
Bro,
about all those meats on skewers.
I need that shit.
Now, both because the chef's choice platter changes every time.
God,
and
I
because
could
it's
just
called
eat
the
that.
chef's choice platter, I'm just gonna kind of make
Sear
whatever I
that real
want.
good, I'll
So
fucking
for
eat
the
it.
sausagey looking things, I'm gonna make a smoked sausage.
I'm a bit of a red
80%
meat fiend.
Beef and 20% pork fat, which will hopefully give us the great flavor of pork with the also great flavor of beef.
I love
We'll place
fat,
both
too.
The meat and the fat in the freezer for at least
Pork
20
fat?
minutes until the edges of the pieces of meat
pork fat's
become
pretty good.
firm. Then through a similarly chilled meat grinder, we're grinding everything together through its coarsest plate. Once that's done, we're spreading it out evenly on a rim baking sheet, putting it and the grinder back in the freezer for another 20 minutes, and regrinding this time through the finest plate.
So-
this should give our
He has that on like a mechanical thing. I don't remember what we used to make with it, but my mom had an old style grinder extruder thing that you would clamp. It was just like a big metal apparatus, and you'd clamp it onto the side of the kitchen table, and it had a hand crank. You just and it would just spin the gears inside, and you just put shit in there, and it would extrude it out whatever you had it on. It was this, but manual. It was pretty cool. Whenever I was little, I always wanted to spin it. Whenever she was making something that needed it, it's good times.
sausage a nice, smooth, hot dog-like interior. Then for the cure, I'm using the cure calculator over at meatsandSausages.com. So exactly 3.5 grams of prog powder number 1.
Is that typical?
28
I've never
grams of
made
kosher salt,
sausage.
5.5 grams of freshly ground black pepper,
Cure
6
it.
grams garlic powder, 2 grams of ground fennel, 3 grams harissa,
Did you say
and 2.5
fentanyl?
grams Aleppo pepper. For roughly 3 pounds
He's getting
total
crazy
ground
with this
meat.
sausage.
For a slice blend that I'm going to call Babish Wurst. Like bratwurst, but with Babish, that doesn't really work, does it? Sprinkle that evenly over the ground meat and massage in.
Tattoos
Making
does
the
he
cure
have?
is evenly incorporated. Of course, we're going to cut ourselves off a piece, cook it up, and
Can't tell.
test it for seasoning. We are about to turn this
Wonder
meat
if he's
into
got, like,
sausages,
tattoos anywhere
and
else.
This is your last chance to add any more salt, pepper, garlic, whatever. It passed the taste
Oh,
test, so now it's time to stuff
I could
it
eat
into
anything
some
he's made so
intestine.
far.
Thread that onto your sausage stuffer according to manufacturer's specifications,
Yeah,
and stuff
we're
the
not gonna
meat
talk
mixture,
about-
now called a
not
farce,
gonna
into
talk
the
about this
awaiting
part.
hopper. The goal here, of course, is to stuff the sausage evenly and gradually so that we don't end up with a burst sausage. Once stuffed, we can twist
Just imagine
individual links and then
sucking
it's ready
that
to cure. So these guys are
paste
headed
off the
into the
tip of
fridge
that
covered
bud.
overnight. This is going to allow the
It's
pink
probably
cure to
weirdly
salt
not
its
awful.
magic. The next
But
day,
probably
we're gonna
feels
retrieve our
pretty
sausages,
degenerate.
which are nearly ready to be smoked. First, we gotta prick them up a little bit. Using the very sharpest and thinnest thing you can find, poke a bunch of holes in the links.
Yeah, I
This
don't
will
want them to
prevent them
explode.
from bursting as we smoke them for 2 hours at 200 degrees Fahrenheit,
fuck, bro.
or until they are an enchanting cherry red, juicy, and fully cooked. And I was pleased to find that these sausages were pleasurable to eat, and I'm sure that they'll be
Yeah, I see
even
that
better
why you would
once
cure
they
it
are
then, 'cause
kissed
if you're
by
just
the grill.
smoking it
Next up in the
afterwards,
world of
then-
things that we have to do way ahead of time, we're dry brining a big old chicken, combining 1
dry
teaspoon of
brine.
kosher salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper per pound of chicken. Tiny whisk until homogeneous, and then
brined
use to
anything.
season the bird liberally inside and out.
I've fried
Then this guy's headed
a-
onto a wire
like a
rack, set
turkey.
the rim baking sheet,
I know
and
that's a
being
chicken, but I
fridged
fried a
and covered
turkey
overnight,
as far as
which,
birds
you
go.
can see, has dried
Never
out the
brined
skin, which is
a
going to
bird.
give us a really crispy bird. Now, recently I've had success with the upside down roasting method, so I'm going to fill a large saute pan with
Upside
mirepoix,
down
stuff the
roasting.
bird full of all kinds of garlic and herbs and lemons, truss
Yeah,
the
just
legs
shove it
shut.
in there.
This helps elevate the thighs so they cook more evenly, and it's headed into the pan, inverted. And then it's headed into a 425 degree Fahrenheit oven, or 400 with convection, which if you've got it, you should do, because it's going to give your bird crispier skin. Flip after 30 minutes and roast for an additional 30 until it's deeply golden brown and cooked through. Now, as for the big paella looking thing in front, paella is normally flat because it cooks right in the pan. So the idea of pan transference gave me an idea. I could finish the paella in a hot pan, but this sort of
paella?
reminded me of bibimbap. So again, since this is the chef's
How's a
choice, I
paella?
decided to merge the two. I'm making a
That's
real
a lot of
simple
garlic.
shrimp
That's
stock
what I
here
like to
using
see.
shrimp shells and a whole bunch of aromatics and herbs and peppercorns and garlic and all the things that are good. And cook it for about 45 minutes until it's really shrimpy. Strain it, making sure you turn off the stove, Andy. Safety first.
Shrimps-
That's what
I
always
like
say,
shrimp.
Safety first.
Not a
shrimp
big
second.
seafood guy,
And
but
keep
shrimp.
it warm in a medium saucepan along
That's
with
good.
2 cups of dry white wine. Then in a
Scallops.
large Dutch oven, we are thoroughly sauteing 1 large onion, thinly sliced, until starting to caramelize. And then we're going to add 2 grated cloves of garlic, 2 teaspoons gochugaru, and 1 tablespoon sweet paprika,
What?
which we're just going to saute.
This man's
together
saying
for
so many
about
words
30
I've never heard
seconds
before.
until fragrant. Deglazing with a 14-ounce can of whole plum tomatoes and about 1/3 of a cup of gochujang. Cook all these guys together
What?
for about 5 minutes. Let their flavors get to know each other, and then we're adding the
Gojo
rice. 4 cups of short grain arborio rice. Mix those guys on up together just to coat all the
That's gonna be
granules
tasty.
of rice, and then we're going to add our shrimp stock and wine mixture all at once. We're not making risotto here. We're making paella bibimbap. Bibimbap. Mix everybody together just to make sure that everything is evenly distributed. Season generously with kosher salt and freshly ground.
I was
black
say, I've
pepper.
never seen
Now
rice
let's
with so
finish
much
things
shit
up with
in
a
it.
couple teaspoons of toasted sesame oil. Then this guy's headed into a preheated 375 degree Fahrenheit
not saying that's a
oven
bad
for about
thing
15 minutes.
that
Just
he's
enough
putting a
time
lot
for the
in it.
rice to have absorbed most of the
I'm
water.
just
so
saying,
then it
I'm
acts as a
uncultured.
platform for some big old prawns.
No, take
Head
those
on,
out.
Full antenna, all that good stuff. Then the lid's headed back on
Yeah,
and
not-
back into the oven for another 15 to
not for
20
me.
minutes until the prawns are cooked through. Meanwhile, I'm preheating and generously oiling a large ovular cast iron skillet, which once
I've had
smoking
shrimp,
hot
but I've
will
not
be the
had
recipient
prawn.
of our bibimbap. This will
How do they
hopefully
vary
create
in
the crispy,
taste?
crunchy layer that exists on the bottom of both paella and bibimbap, or at least theoretically, like everything else that we're doing today. Pile it high and proud, arrange
that
the
looks
prawns
good.
on top, and then it's
Okay,
time
now
to
it's a
start
little less
talking
good, but-
skewered meats. One of the more memorable parts of the chef's choice platter are some towering skewers of meat reminiscent of a churrascaria. And again, since I'm doing pretty much whatever I want, I'm going to start with a mojo marinade for the shrimp, the juice of 3 oranges and 5 limes, and a whole head of garlic peeled and crushed.
A nice
We're also gonna add
citrusy
1 teaspoon of ground cumin,
meat.
1/2 teaspoon of oregano, a tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of freshly ground black
a
pepper,
classic.
tiny whisk completely until you remember that
usually-
you forgot a tablespoon of olive
When I
oil,
think
and that you
something
wanted to
citrusy, I think of
experiment
white
with
meat.
baking soda, which should both make our marinade into
chicken.
a bubbly, fizzing science project and hopefully give our shrimp some better color on the grill. Then I've got a pound of
Oh, he's
peeled
putting
and
shrimp in
deveined
it.
shrimp here that I'm going to mix together.
Okay, yeah, I
and allow
definitely
to
see
sit
that.
in the marinade for at least 30
Being
minutes.
citrusy.
And now, since I'm in the mood to go to a churrascaria, I'm going to make some picanha, which actually refers to a specific cut of beef. It's a rump steak with a thick cap of fat that we need to slice across the grain to keep it tender. First, we're going to start by scoring the
like the
fat,
sound of
which
that.
is going to help make it look pretty. And then after locating the direction of the grain, we're going to slice across it into big
I didn't
old
know meat
thick
had grain, but I
slabs.
guess
Mine has a little bit
the
too much
fibers,
fat
yeah,
cap
I mean,
on
that
it, so
makes
I'm gonna cut
sense.
some off. And traditionally,
never
these would be
considered
cut a lot thicker, but the idea is that you press it into a horseshoe shape before skewering. And speaking
Okay.
of skewers, I got these big boys off
Oh,
Amazon.
shit.
These are the kind
That's a
used
skewer.
universally in steakhouses, and I assume chef combat.
Bro, that's
Practice
a
your moves
Monster
little
Hunter
bit,
weapon right
take
there.
stock of the damage you just did to your table,
Got
and
2 dual
start
blades.
skewering the beef. Now, the reason you traditionally want to do these thicker is so that you can carve them right off the skewer. But for my purposes today, these ought to
Makes
do
sense.
just fine. Picanha is then usually heavily salted with rock
Picanha.
salt, but all I've got is kosher, so that's what I'm going to do. Season generously and let stand at room temperature for at least 45 minutes before cooking, during which time we can subdivide our sausage into skewer appropriate sizes. And once that's done, we can similarly impale our shrimp. Once everybody has been skewered, it's time to head out to the grill, which we've had preheating on maximum flame for like 15
Maximum
minutes. I'm
flame.
going to start with the red meat because it needs the most time to cook. Grill covered for maybe 5 minutes and then rotate about 30 degrees so you get those nice cross hatches when you flip. Once
big
flipped,
brain.
shrimp cook pretty
Oh,
quickly.
yeah,
and
you
we're
got
just
those cross
charring the
hatches
sausage, so
perfect.
those guys can go on. Both are only going to need about 2 to 3
think he might
minutes
know how to
per
use the
side.
grill.
Once everybody's grilled up, we've only got one more dish to contend with, that sort of seafood-looking stew in the corner. I have no idea what it is, other than it's red and it's got seafood, so I'm going to make Thai curry mussels. Sauteing a minced shallot in a tablespoon of vegetable oil for about 3 minutes.
You know, I'm not a
Grating
fan
in
of
2
seafood, but
teaspoons
I
of
bet
fresh
that actually would
lemongrass
taste
and
good.
1 tablespoon of fresh ginger. Sauteing
Thai
for about
curry
30 seconds or
mussels.
until nice and fragrant. Then we're adding 1 tablespoon each tomato paste and red Thai chili paste. We likewise just want to saute these guys together for about a minute just to caramelize them. Then we're deglazing with 1/3 cup of dry white wine, simmering until the alcohol cooks off, and adding a 14-ounce can of
let's keep the alcohol in there,
unsweetened coconut
fuck it.
milk. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of fish sauce for flavorful
Ooh, no,
kick.
no,
Mix this
no.
guy up together, bring him to a simmer,
fish
and then
sauce,
I'm going to add
please.
2 pounds of cleaned, debearded mussels. Toss around a coat, cover it up, and cook over low heat for about 5
That done
minutes
made a
until
mess.
the mussels
I
open.
saw that splash
Now, all
out.
there is left to do is assemble. First, we got to cut the chunk off the side of a pineapple so it can act as our skewer holder. Arrange things as closely as you can to the way that they're presented in the game.
I like the,
Serve up the red Thai chili mussels, skewer the skewers,
flagon?
grab a gigantic wedge
mug?
of cheese, and then again, since our paella is inspired by bibimbap, I'm going to add a fried egg on top, scatter some scallions, and pile on some kimchi. And there you have it, my Chef's Choice Special. Biggest challenge now is to decide what to try first.
Bro, this shit. If I'm ever rich, I'm ordering this. I'm gonna call him up. I'm gonna say, hey, that thing you made in that video, I want it. And I'll invite closest friends, and we'll have the Feast of Champions. That looks delicious, I gotta say. Let's see what he thinks.
Gotta say, the best thing on the table probably ended up being the bibimbap. It was seafoody and spicy, and it had a lovely crunchy layer on the bottom, just like I wanted.
I could see
I know
that.
it's an absolute culinary mishmash, but hey, tastes good. The chicken browned weird, but tasted delicious and was ultra crispy. The mini picanha was cooked to a perfect medium rare and was pretty much just some
medium
steak
rare,
with salt
that's-
on it, so it was
that's
delicious.
good.
No big surprises there. The shrimp was absolutely delicious.
Like, I'm not
And
gonna be able to
the
stream
problem
after
turned out
this.
to
I'm
be
gonna
the
have to go get
sausage,
food.
which was really tasty, but ended up getting a little dry on the grill. I suspect that emulsifying it with ice water like a hot dog would fix this. And the mussels were very delicious. A little spicy, a little cocoa nutty, and most of all muscly. And as for the giant block of Swiss, I could not resist just taking a big old bite. Thank you guys very much for watching
Nice.
and for making my lunch leftovers really, really cool this week.
Yeah, no, that was worth watching, but I am very hungry now. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for making that, Babish. Like and subscribe. I'll see you later.